Donkey Kong Land, now with 100% less Diddy Kong. Hello guys, this is UniversalGiant. Let's play Donkey Kong Land 3 for the Game Boy, follow-up to the original Donkey Kong Land and Donkey Kong Land 2, also based on its Donkey Kong Country game on the SNES, except this one has a couple of differences in that all the levels are completely different, and I'm getting the strangest feeling of deja vu, aren't you? Let's just hop right into it, and very similar to the last game that we played, Donkey Kong Land 2, the first world has a whole bunch of warps that we can take and not necessarily have to deal with any of the levels if we don't want to. Take this level, for instance. Do you like this level? I don't like this level too much. You don't like this level too much. Let's just go into this barrel with a W on it and run all the way to the other side of the room, and oh hey, there's the flag that indicates the end of the level. How about that? This is going to be a really easy world to get through, and it won't take very long, except this level! The only underwater level in the first world, and guess what? It is also the only level that does not have a warp barrel, and it is annoying for that reason. Except I'm a big fat liar. There's actually a warp barrel right up here, and for some reason I didn't know it was here. But oh well, we have to 100% the level at some point anyway, so we might as well just go right back to the beginning, as if that warp barrel didn't exist, because you want to see the whole level, right? Of course you do. And I always go to the right here and miss out on Enguarde, who's on the other side over here on the left. Enguarde is a lot more difficult to use, as opposed to how broken he was in the last game, in that every time I tried to kill myself when using him, I would accidentally kill the enemies instead of accidentally killing Enguarde, which I was intending to do sometimes. Now, you can see I can't just randomly run into the enemies to kill them. I actually have to attack them with the A button. And for some reason, I think the attack should be the B button instead of the A button. I don't know if they reversed it or not, because it's been a year since I played the last Donkey Kong Land game, but it feels weird not to have attack on the B button. And I don't know how much extra effort it would have taken for them to just put the attack button on both buttons, since you're not necessarily using the B button for anything, except dying! Do you see how much dying is going to happen in this LP? And I have to start all over again, because the checkpoint barrel was probably just right there, and I was too stupid to get it because I was too stupid to get it. I don't know the names of most of the enemies in here, because I think even if they look very similar to the ones that we faced before, they have different names, because it's a different Donkey Kong Country Land game, don't you know? And that means they have to redo all the names, so any names that I was calling them from the end of the last game will be incorrect, and people will be yelling at me for it, and I don't want people to yell at me, so I'm just not going to say what their names are until I figure out what their names are. Which probably won't be until the roll call at the end of the game, and it won't matter at that point because the game will be over and I won't have any enemies to deal with. How much longer can I go on talking like this before I run out of steam? I don't know. We will find out eventually. And that barrel down there, I have no idea why it's there. I don't know what to do with it. It's just a barrel, and it's cool, and I have a feeling I missed something already. Now, I think everybody's already familiar with the banana mechanic and the KONG mechanic and buddy barrel switching, and Dixie Kong can use her hair to float around and stuff, so there are only a couple of differences between this game and the last game. The little bear coins serve another purpose in addition to being able to save, although I don't save very often, so I'm not sure if that still costs money or not. I believe it does after the first time. But the bear coins also have another purpose, which is to play games with the bear dude and do other stuff with the bear dude. If you were expecting this to be much more like Donkey Kong Country 3 in the way that Donkey Kong Land 2 is very similar to Donkey Kong Country 2, you'll be disappointed, because this game, from the very little I've seen of Donkey Kong Country 3, isn't as much like its SNES counterpart as Donkey Kong Land 2 was. And I don't necessarily know how to feel about that. I have my own opinions on this game, as I've already described in some other LPs and videos and whatnot, which I'm going to be repeating for those of you who heard it, because not everyone has, and I figure since it's an LP, you'll want to hear that stuff anyway if you haven't heard it elsewhere before. But I haven't seen too much of Donkey Kong Country 3 because it's one of those games that, although I didn't get to play it in my childhood because I didn't have an SNES, it is a game that I'd like to get around to playing at some point, and generally I don't like watching LPs of games that I haven't played yet and will play at some point. And there are exceptions to that, mostly games that I didn't necessarily know about and wanted to see just for the sake of seeing. Like, I know I've talked about in another video seeing a couple of Persona LPs, and since I've never owned a PlayStation of any kind, I obviously couldn't play it myself. So the only exposure to those games I've had was through Let's Plays. And it's games like that I'll make an exception for, because it's very unlikely I'd have access to the game by the time the LP would be over and it'd be too entertaining for me to skip on or something. But for the most part, if I haven't played a game before and I'd really like to play it eventually, I'll have to skip out on the LP because I don't want to spoil it for myself. And Donkey Kong Country 3 is one of those games. I think all of the Donkey Kong Country games fall under that category of games that I would like to play eventually, so I'll try not to watch too many LPs of them. But it is a game that I'd like to try at some point. So I don't know very much about Donkey Kong Country 3 to make comparisons between this game and that game. However, I can say from the little of Donkey Kong Country 3 that I've seen, that this game does not have nearly as much in common with Donkey Kong Country 3 as Donkey Kong Land 2 and Donkey Kong Land had with their Donkey Kong Country counterparts. Wow, that was a mouthful. So if you're expecting to see a couple of special features or cool mechanics that were in specific levels in the Donkey Kong Country game that were special to that game and really set it apart, you're not going to find them. At least chances are you won't see them in this LP. So combine that with the Game Boy graphics and the horrible, horrible contrast. For the life of me, I can't figure out why these Donkey Kong Land games in particular are so bad with the color contrast. And of all of the games, this is the one of the three that I was most hoping to play with the original Game Boy monochrome, but I decided against it for the full color, simply because of consistency again. Since I've done the other two Donkey Kong Land games in color, I might as well do this one in color as well. But when the contrast gets so bad, and it doesn't look so bad right now, but it will get much worse later on. For the contrast, I'd prefer to go with the original Donkey Kong Land Game Boy graphics. I just got a pop-up from the emulator that told me that there was a problem saving, which means this whole thing may not save, and I may have to redo everything off-screen, which will not be fun for anyone in the least bit. But now that we're away from that underwater shenanigans and we never have to see it again, we can just continue blazing our way through World 1, because nobody wanted to... I skipped the warp already, didn't I? I think the warp was, like, down here. Oh well, I threw myself off a little bit, because God forbid I actually want to do a level. So let's continue skipping our way through World 1, because nobody likes World 1. World 1 is always the most stupid and annoying of the worlds, except if you're playing a Donkey Kong game, in which you can skip most of the levels because nobody likes them, and the game agrees with you. So we just go over here to another warp barrel, which does not have anything to do with the 100%iness. Like I said in the first game, the warp barrels do not count towards your 100%iness, so if you don't know that they exist, you can still 100% the game. It will not kill you for it. In fact, you may find it to be a little bit more annoying to have to go find those barrels if you don't know where they are, because some of them are really stupidly hidden. Like this barrel that you'd never think to jump to the left for, because most level progression is towards the right, not towards the left. So let's just continue laying waste to World 1, because it is just so horribly bad. The only thing I really don't like about World 1, though, in all seriousness, is that underwater level. You stick an underwater level in level 2 of a game. Who does that? If you're a game designer, don't stick a level like that where your control is restricted or nobody's going to like it, and make that your second level of the game, because people will just completely reject it afterwards. And I want to say that there's a barrel thingy over there, but I don't know for sure because I'm stupid and I forget things. Oh, how many times I've said I'm stupid and I forget things, and people just don't believe me. Well, there is no bonus barrel over there. Where the hell is it? I could have sworn it was over there somewhere. We missed it. I'm going back for it. Let's go get the warp point. Because if we spend any longer searching for that warp, it'll be completely pointless. Because we could have already finished the level by the time I find it. Which is incredibly stupid of me. But nonetheless, we're going to be doing it anyway. Or I'll just complete the level as I'm supposed to. Because I'm pretty sure I need Dixie Kong to get the warp. And if I'm going to do it that way, then we already skipped a bonus in this level, which means I'm going to have to do this 3 times unless I get creative. And I don't like getting creative, because getting creative scares me, and it makes me have to come up with my own original content, and it's silly to do that, because who does that these days? It's more funny to copy what other people do, because other people do funny things, and you already know that they're funny, because you wouldn't think they're funny if they weren't funny, and if they weren't funny, you would have found somebody who was funny to copy off of. So let's find somebody funny to copy off of. Who's funny to copy off of? Well, a lot of people like raging. Rage, 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 cursing, 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 rage. You like that, right? You don't like that? You don't like failing? I don't have the time to fail these games for you. I want to try to do as best as I can so I don't have to do stuff over again, because nobody likes doing stuff more times than they have to. Unless you're watching it, and not actually doing it. Or if you're doing something fun, and now that we died, we can go to find that warp again, except I have to get a buddy barrel, and as long as we're here, let's turn around to the left, and I'm thinking of a different level. There is no bonus over there. We're still going to have to go back for a bonus that's in that kind of place, but this isn't the level in which we're going to have to do it. Oh, it's been a long time since I've just ranted on and on and on and spewing words from my mouth without necessarily caring about what was coming out of them. And I have a feeling that I'm not going to be able to do this very often because I know I'm not very good at it. So let's leave that bird over there minding his own business and completely mess this up. I'm pretty sure if we fly over there, there's the warp. We did need Dixie for it, or if we needed Kiddy for it. Did I completely neglect the existence of Kiddy Kong, who replaced Donkey Kong? I hope so, because I do not like this character in the least. He is an idiot. He is a loser. And I don't believe he has any advantage except maybe being a little bit stronger. I do not know. So as long as we're here and we love this level before the boss, why not complete it? Because we've already gotten a bonus here, and I don't want to confuse people by going back to another level and completing all of the other levels in this world except this one, and then coming back to this one and skipping the bonus that we got already, because people will be asking, when did you get that bonus that you skipped? Don't you know you have to go back to get it? And I'll say I already did it, and they'll say they don't remember because it happened 10 minutes ago as opposed to 5. People can be silly like that. You ever get a comment on a video that says something about something that happens 10 minutes later, thinking that you're going to be too stupid to actually get it? It's like, hey, there's this thing a little bit later on in the game, you know, that you can actually get, and then you go back to get it later in the video, and the comment is still there because the person didn't delete it when they saw that you actually got it. Or maybe they didn't actually watch, or they fell asleep. How stupid does that make them look? Does it make you look stupid when you do that? I hope it does, because it's a very stupid thing for you to do. Don't do that. Please don't do that. Stupid comments are stupid. And as much as I like getting really nice and intelligent comments because it shows that people actually care about what I'm doing as opposed to, I don't know what would be the opposite of that, not caring about what you're doing. They're obviously watching you, and if you're still watching at this point, that means you obviously care. I don't know where I'm going with that, like most of the crap that I say, and there's a rope over there. You want to make sure not to miss that rope like I'm doing. Because if you climb all the way up here, you get a bear coin, and that's not the least bit helpful. Why did I bother to go out of my way for that? I don't know. Maybe I thought it was something that was helpful when it actually wasn't very helpful. That wasn't very helpful, silly. Now, I did mention I've only seen a few videos of Donkey Kong Country 3. Guess whose it was? If you guessed NCS, you'd probably be correct, which is why I'm most likely to accidentally call Kiddy Derpy. If I happen to do that and not catch it, please don't give me hell for it. Now that I said it, you will, just because you think it's funny. Why do I do this? Oh well, there's a buddy barrel up there I don't need. I think we have everything except one bonus, and I do not remember where it is, and I think we're getting very close to the end of the level, which means I missed it somewhere, and we're probably going to have to go back to get it, unless it's up here, in which case we don't, because it's right here, and we don't have to backtrack. Hooray, we have to find the token once more. I hope nobody minds me not explaining anything, because just about all of the mechanics in this game are the exact same as they were in Donkey Kong Land 2, except the hero coins are now being held with a dude by a shield or something that we have to throw a barrel behind in order to kill. But that is really the only difference in terms of level mechanics that we have to concern ourselves with in this game. So let's run this episode a little bit long and try to 100% the entire world, because do I want to go on with a long episode? See, I'm at the point where I'd like to have this episode finish off World 1 because we're about 2/3 of the way through it, but at the same time, we still have to get all of the bonuses and such, and that's not going to be a very quick thing to do. I have the feeling that I might just want to cut it off after this level, because I assume that 100%ing the other levels will not be as quick as I think it's going to be, and I don't want to have a 30-minute video. Now, the reason I'm thinking in terms of that, and a lot of the videos I've been doing during the week lately have been fairly short, it's because I finally have very little time to watch videos now. So I respect people who just do not have the time to do it anymore, which means I don't want to be wasting more than 15 or 20 minutes at most of your time in a day. Because you have better things to do, and if you don't, you should have better things to do. Go find better things to do, you lazy bastard. Maybe get a job, maybe read a book, maybe, I don't know, leave hateful comments on internet videos, because not enough people do that nowadays. But I'm finding I just don't have as much time to do things, so I figure if you don't have as much time to do things, you shouldn't be wasting your time on watching these. And on that note, you don't have to watch this video anymore because it's over, and I'll see you next time when we finish 100%ing World 1. See you later.